The big shift to working and consuming online means huge amounts of data is generated daily. And it all needs to be stored in data centers.
Internet traffic has increased by 20–30% on its own itself. If you look at, of course, all the conferencing tools like Zoom, WebEx, and Microsoft Teams and such, basically they have grown more than 100% in this past period.
The Asia-Pacific region is expected to drive growth for data center provider EQUINIX. The company operates more than 210 data centers in 55 markets.
In Asia-Pac, 87% of companies should be going through that digital transformation process by 2022, which is actually faster than the rest of the world.
Data centers consume a lot of energy to power up the infrastructure and to cool it down, especially in tropical climates.
Even when you are super efficient, you still have the issue that you're consuming too much power and you're generating carbon itself. Right? So the strategy we are looking at going forward is really to decarbonize and going carbon neutral, going carbon free.
EQUINIX has stated its commitment to be 100% renewable in the long term.
We have whole teams that are sitting there to drive the efficiency in design of our sites. So this can be how we deliver the power, how we manage the cooling of the architecture, and how we design the entire facility to make sure they're as efficient as possible. But then also working with power providers around the world to make sure we can provide renewable power resources to power those data centers as well.
For KEPPEL data centers, it's exploring the use of hydrogen fuel to power its data centers.
We are looking at innovation that will use LNG, and we are going to pass through processes like steam methane reform that will split the hydrogen out from the rest of the elements in natural gas so that we can power. Now, when you split that out and you capture carbon dioxide, when hydrogen economy and green hydrogen becomes widely available across the world, that's when we can really go carbon free without the process of having to capture carbon dioxide from LNG.
There are already hydrogen-powered innovations in cars, planes and trains. The tri-generational plant concept is another green initiative that KEPPEL Data Centers is studying.
In this case, we want it to be hydrogen, so it is carbon-free. So it generates heat, and the heat will be captured and then further power steam turbine. Right? That's called cogen. Then tri-gen will be a further part that we extract the balance of the heat into heat absorption technology, we call it heat absorption chiller, that will create cold energy for data center to use for cooling.
This hydrogen tri-generational plant concept could form part of KEPPEL's floating data center park development in the eastern part of Singapore.
We believe that we have cleared 90% or more of the hurdles, so the next steps are really to put it into a commercially viable proposition and launch it.
The data center is the physical hardware. As industry players innovate on the hardware, they're also using artificial intelligence and machine learning to optimize their data center operations.
On the efficiency side in Singapore, we've utilized a technology which monitors the cooling temperatures in all of our data center environments and optimizes the cooling depending on the particular location.
Using AI and machine learning, we can push the boundary, not just into efficiency, but we're also looking into reliability. Can we use the software to predict a failure? We are getting very encouraging results. I think the next few steps is really to how to put it to production.
Data center REITs have been among the best performing REITs so far this year. As at September the 30th, the FTSE NAREIT Subsector Data Centers Index is up 25.8% year to date. This compares with a negative 12.3% return from the NAREIT All Equity REIT Index. In Singapore, there are some REITs that ride on the data center growth story too.
We're looking at the growth potential going forward over the next 2 to 3 years. So more specifically, if you look at the likes of KEPPEL Data Center REIT or even MAPLETREE Industrial Trust, they have a large pipeline of data center assets coming from its sponsors over the next few years. So this will help them grow their footprint in the data center space.
KEPPEL DC REIT is a pure-play data center REIT. Its current portfolio consists of 18 data centers globally, including in Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, and the United Kingdom. The REIT was listed in December 2014, and from October 19, 2020, it will be included in the benchmark Straits Times Index. The inclusion will increase visibility among global investors and improve trading liquidity. Another data center play is MAPLETREE Industrial Trust. The REIT has been acquiring data center assets in the United States.
They began their investment in data centers as early as 2017, and now data centers makes up about more than 30% of their portfolio. So in addition to this data center exposure, they have a portfolio of modern logistics facilities and high specification buildings, which are very relevant and resilient in today's climate.
Besides KEPPEL DC REIT and MAPLETREE Industrial, Ascendus REIT has some exposure to data center assets. In its latest half-year results update, high-specs industrial and data centers make up 16% of its portfolio in Singapore. Customers in the information and communications technology space contributed 11.8% to monthly gross revenue, while data centers contributed 5.2%.
They are one of the most geographically diversified industrial REIT here in Singapore. Their portfolio is what we will call future-proof. So, for example, their business parks and science parks facilities continue to benefit from the growth of the technology sector.